All right, the final balance changes for June in Clash Royale were just announced. There's a few differences from the work in progress balance changes that I'll get into, and then I'll also show you guys the community reaction after these changes were announced. What do people like? What do people dislike? And you guys can also leave your thoughts in the comment section below. So let's get right into it. For the nerfs, the first one is the Boss Bandit nerf, and her nerf is staying the exact same. They decided to keep her hit points nerf at only minus 3%, going from 2,803 to 2,721. This was definitely a controversial change. A lot of people saying it's not enough of a nerf, especially because the Evo Witch is getting a larger nerf, which is a pretty good counter to her, and people have said it's one of the only things that actually helps keep the Boss Bandit in check. We feel Boss Bandit has found her place in the meta, but she survives and dashes to towers too often with very little hit points. We're nerfing her hit points slightly to make those frustrating situations less frequent. The Goblin Hut, it was newly added. It's getting a hit points nerf of 6%, going from 1,305 to 1,228, and then the spawn speed is going from 1.7 to 1.8, also getting a 6% nerf. And they say since the rework, Goblin Hut has been dominating over other defensive building options. While the new addition to the meta is welcome, we need to tone it down across the board. I overall agree with this nerf because I think this is keeping the rework Goblin Hut idea good. That obviously benefited the card, but not to the point where it is way too strong and by far the best building in the game. So I do really like this nerf to the card overall. And then the Lightning is getting a 10% damage decrease to Crown Tower damage. I believe they actually toned this down because I think before it was 17%. So they listened to what people said. People saying, hey, this is a little bit too much. It's fine that it's getting a nerf, but it doesn't have to be as high as 17%. And they said for the reasoning, Lightning is an important spell that counters powerful 5 elixir support troops, but it currently deals excessive damage to Crown Towers, making it a bit too punishing. So now it's only going to be 10% instead of what it was before, which was slightly higher. So I'm okay with a 10% Crown Tower damage nerf, and I think most people are going to understand that more than what it was before. The Ice Spirit Evolution nerf is staying the same. They're changing the Ice Blast damage from 163 to 110, which is a 33% decrease. And they say that Ice Spirit Evolution is still one of the strongest evolutions, so we're dialing back its power by reducing its damage while keeping its stun intact. Definitely going to make this a way more balanced evolution, in my opinion, because there's going to be quite a few interactions that are going to change, especially against troops that are medium health or small health. Of course, against tanks, the damage isn't going to make a big difference, so it really depends on what you're going up against. And then the Witch Evolution, the heal per skeleton, is going from 73 to 64, a 12% decrease. Definitely going to help balance the card out a lot more, in my opinion. Witch Evolution has limited counter options, mainly lightning or a few high damage troops. We're aiming to give more cards a chance to counter her. I think this is a good nerf. Definitely not going to kill the card, but there's no way it's going to be the best evolution anymore, in my opinion, if I had to guess. Now for the buffs, the Cannon Cart buff staying the same. They're buffing the hit points by 5%, going from 1,730 to 1,809. We've been monitoring Cannon Cart since the rework, and losing its shield made it significantly weaker. To compensate, we're giving it a hit points buff. This is going to make it slightly more immune to spells, especially. I feel like that's where it's going to be very noticeable, probably able to survive another tower shot. So just small interactions definitely going to help it more and make it potentially more viable in a couple more decks besides just Mortar very rarely. The Goblin Demolisher's keeping the buff where the lifetime after 50% hit points is going up a couple seconds from 8 to 10, which is a 25% increase. And they say Goblin Demolisher's ability isn't damaging troops or buildings often enough, causing it to fall behind other splash damage troops. To highlight its ability, we're increasing his resilience after dropping below 50%. They're changing the way they buff the Little Prince. They're actually buffing the ability instead of the Little Prince itself. So the Guardian damage is being increased by 1%, 199 to 202. 1% increase is kind of crazy, I'm not going to lie. But then the ability damage is going from 207 to 230, an 11% increase. I think this is actually a very good buff to the Little Prince because a lot of people that run the Little Prince just use it for the 3-card cycle, basically the fact that it's a 3 elixir champion so you're able to cycle to other cards quicker, but they hardly ever use the ability because the Guardian has just sucked. So I think this is honestly a very good way of buffing the Little Prince, focusing on the ability and not the Little Prince itself. Little Prince has been underperforming compared to the other champions, and when he is played, it's often just for the 3-card cycle rather than his ability. Well, there you go. That's actually exactly what I was saying. We're buffing Royal Rescue to make it a more competitive option. Really good buff in my opinion. I like the fact that they changed it. Rune Giant buff staying the same. They're buffing the hit points from 2,508 to 2,662, a 6% health buff. They didn't even give a explanation why. They just know it sucks, basically. And then the Wizard Evolution is getting an explosion damage buff, going from 230 to 281, a 22% increase. Very significant buff, in my opinion. Rune Giant, oh, they do mention the Rune Giant, and Wizard Evolution have been among the weakest cards in the meta, so we're giving them straightforward buffs to help players find more success with them in the arena. I mean, a very direct explanation, but yeah, I mean, that really is what it comes down to. They just are very weak. And then for the reworks, they're actually adding a Hunter Evolution nerf. This wasn't even in the work in progress balance changes. The net duration is going from 4 to 3, minus 25%, and then the net cooldown going from 4 to 5, a 25% increase. But the first hit speed is getting buffed, going from 0.8 to 0.7, which is a 13% buff. And that also applies to the regular Hunter. So they're buffing one aspect of it, but nerfing the others. This makes me think, okay, does this mean people might just run the regular Hunter now inside of Royal Giant? Maybe people won't even use the Evolve Hunter because the regular one is just directly going to be a lot better every single time. Whereas the Evolve Hunter, now it's going to be a lot worse in a lot of scenarios. So now it's just going to maybe be more situational. So very interesting, but I can understand their logic behind it because the regular Hunter just sucks compared to the Evolved version. Hunter's Evolution net was too effective at shutting down larger troops, but Hunter's mostly seen in Royal Giant decks. We're adding some downtime to the net while buffing Hunter himself, making the card less frustrating to face and more viable in a wider range of decks. See you in the arena. As for what people are saying, a lot of people, I think, do like the balance changes overall, but a lot of people are saying what I said for the Boss Bandit, minus 3% hit points. What a joke. It's not enough, clearly some people are saying. Some people here are saying emergency buff the Inferno Drag. I would not be surprised if they do this in a week or two because I actually think it is the worst evolution in the game. Amazing balance changes as usual. Mega Knight Recruit still didn't get nerfed. I would like a bigger nerf for Boss Bandit, a nerf for Prince, a buff for Dark Prince. So yeah, a lot of people saying similar things about the Boss Bandit, which should only heal from her skeletons or be at least 2 cycles. So we'll see if time will tell if the Witch nerf was enough. But overall, I do really like these balance changes. I think they did address all the cards that were too strong, and then they added some nice buffs as well. I mean, especially what they did with that Hunter rework. I think that was really smart, as well as the Little Prince Rune Giant buff. I think all the buffs are solid. Maybe they could have buffed a couple other cards that are pretty weak as well. But overall, these balance changes, I approve of most of them for the most part. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe. If you guys are not subscribed already, you can use credit code BOSS to support me in any Supercell game. And thanks again until next time, guys.